Shalom, making sure I'm on. I've been having a few problems with this because, of course, you know, Esau can spy on you more using Windows 10, but nonetheless, though, this is how I can do videos, and then I do a lot of editing on Windows 7. That's just how I keep this thing afloat. Nonetheless, though, you got a Family of the Word going on here, and this is just another part of it. YouTube censors panel of medical experts over C-19 misinformation. If you hadn't guessed, that's why videos have been taken down right and left. Are you ready for this week's absurdity? Here's our Friday roll-up of the most ridiculous stories from around the world that are threats to your liberty, risks to your property, and on occasion, inspiring poetic justice. YouTube censors panel of medical experts over C-19 misinformation. The governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, recently had a panel discussion to discuss recent research findings related to C-19. The expert panel included 4 professionals of medicine from Harvard, Oxford, and Stanford communities who were all PhDs and experts in field of disease research, and that just scratches the surfaces of their credentials relevant to bring considered C-19 experts. The panel spoke against forcing children and vaccinated people to wear masks, and said there was no proof that lockdowns reduced the spread or death rates of C-19. They cited specific peer-reviewed scholarly research on why they based their opinions. But YouTube decided that these experts were spreading misinformation and took down the video because it included content that contradicts the consensus of local and global health authorities regarding the efficiency of masks to prevent the spread of C-19. And, hey man, you want to, you know, people are wearing those things in places that aren't even requiring it. And they look like a fucking retard. I understand that certain places require to go in. But let's face it, man, driving around in your car with that, man, you look like a fucking mummy, you fucking dummy. And we got even more. Crown Royal propaganda roundup. FBI announces plan to prosecute Americans using fake vaccine passports. Yes, you've heard it. And what did we say, though? That having that paper is not going to be enough. No, they want digital certification because they purposely put stuff up like this so that way they can get the chip ready. The latest updates on the new normal, chronicling the lies, distortions, and abuses by the ruling class. Fashionists now marketing designer fake masks. If you thought the world of fashion couldn't get more soulless and vapid, the trendiest designers developed the answer. Hold my cocktail. So, you know, just... yeah, there you go. Anarchy, right. Nothing screams fuck the system like decorating your slave uniform. This goofy red radical tea towel about the face of Frankenstein. Yeah, man. All looks retarded. But they save lives, right? Alright, the corporate media's ongoing campaign to vaccinate the entire fauna of the planet, come hell or high water, is now paying artists, loosely defined, up to $100,000 to manufacture obscene, sad vaccine art. Hundreds of stunning works. Wow, man, so you got that too. We've been vaccinated. And you know as well that they'll keep on glorifying this because they want everybody to receive it, you know. And eventually it will be the mark because you're going to have to verify that you have it. And here it is. I didn't know all that other stuff was in there. FBI announces plan to prosecute Americans using fake vaccine passports. The FBI has announced that it will aggressively criminally pursue any American suspected of falsifying vaccine certificates that are issued following the injection of the C-19 shots. The FBI press release reads, the unauthorized use of any government agency seal, such as, that is a crime and punishable by Title 18 under U.S. Code Section 1017 and other applicable laws. Which I can guarantee you, though, that only people that just want to get in there, most people have gotten it anyway, so they're just putting this up there because, again, you know that this is all part of the New World Order, that you're not going to be able to buy or sell. You ain't going to be able to go anywhere unless you show that you've gotten your shot. And they're going to want to verify that digitally. Now, on other things, What is the 666 Mark II channel has gotten its second strike, so Apostle Tahar won't be on that, in case you hadn't heard. His new one is Ion Live Stream Replay is his new one. If I try to put the link in there, it'll just say that it doesn't work, so I just show you the screen shot here, but yeah. And this is one of his first videos. What does the covenant mean, because you just got to get back to the basics, man, because you still got new people coming in. We always do. So, who is the covenant for, and what is the new covenant? Getting back to the basics, because channels are coming down, and we need the basics.
There are many covenants, giving all praises to Yahweh Shem Shai B'Shem HaKadosh. This is a video that was put up by Holy Bible Defenders, which is the head of the Baltimore GMS, and the name of the video, or the title of the video, is Response Sakari Cuts Debate Footage Why Hebrew Israelite and Christian Dialogue. And you can see on the screen Vocab Malone, John Mark Reiser, and the brother Hassad. I don't know his title. And this took place, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. Anyway, I'm going to let you listen to a little of this so you can understand that, what Vocab did in this video, and you'll hear it from him. He went to a particular scripture in Genesis, and it speaks about the covenant. And basically he closes the book and says, see, all nations, all peoples, all living things are under the covenant of the Most High. So they will all be delivered, or they will all have a chance of salvation. Well, when if you do a word search on the word covenant in the scripture, the King James or any Bible version of the Bible, we mostly use the King James. We go into other translations as well. The word covenant means agreement, and the Most High gave many covenants. He gave a covenant, and we'll read about that in the precepts. When the flood took place, the Most High gave a covenant to Noah and to all his seed and to all flesh, that he would never flood the earth again. So that covenant was to everyone: Hamites, Ishmaelites, Moabites, Canaanites, Girgashites, Edomites. So what Vocab Malone does is he'll use the word, or the term, the word covenant, and he applies it. To him it means salvation. So that means anybody can be saved because they're under the Most High's covenant. There were covenants between the Most High and man. In the case of Abram, there were covenants between the whole planet, living things, all flesh. But like I said, I'm going to say it again, saying it 2 times. That particular covenant, the covenant of circumcision. The covenant of circumcision has nothing to do with salvation. In the kingdom of heaven, Esau and the other nations will be under us, but they will be under the covenant of circumcision and the keeping of the law. Anyway, let's listen, and I'm going to go into the precepts. And I make it easy because what I do is I'll for the most part, I'll actually go to the word covenant in the blue letter and just pick out certain precepts, and it explains what I've been saying, for the last 5 minutes or so. But anyway, I'm not going to make this long. Anyway, let's listen.
When God said to Noah and to his sons, with every living creature that is with you. And it goes on to explain that. So the covenant is for all of them. It literally says to Noah and his sons here. So the continuity of the passage shows us this is Noah and his sons.
Okay, and then...
Exactly. The covenant was between Noah and his sons.
Through Noah and his sons, you have a chosen lineage that he separates. So it's for Japheth and Ham and their people outside of the chosen lineage, yes, it's okay for them because it's not for them.
God blessed Noah and his sons in verse 1. So that means this edict, that's the way of the covenant, it's to Noah and his sons. We want to. So the question we say is, okay, who is this addressed to? Number 1 is the question. Number 2, we can answer it, Noah and his sons. Who's speaking? God. What does God say to Noah and his sons? And then we see you can eat every living thing. What is every living thing? Then it defines it. You see what I'm saying?
That's fine. Okay, and then
Every living thing, like I mentioned, the flood, the Lord gave a covenant to Noah, to every living thing, to every all flesh. That means animals, birds, fish. So he made that covenant to men and to beasts. So does it mean that the animals are going to be in the kingdom sitting on thrones wearing crowns on their head? No, we're going to be eating animals. So they certainly don't have salvation. Animals are placed on this earth for the sake of man.
And then Israel comes in there and they're giving a law that they can't eat certain. That's fine.
Right, so the covenants are progressive.
When you say progressive, I want to understand what you...
But once you're in Israel, and God gives what he said to Sinai, you eat a camel and you deserve the death penalty.
So when you say progressive covenant, like what do you mean? Like one covenant?
Yeah, you break the Sabbath, that's the death penalty. See, we're in the grace right now.
Comes and then it ends and then there's a new one, or like...
Well, it certainly overlap. A perfect example of some of the overlap is during the days of after Christ's ascension, right? You have a situation where you have people running around who only understood John's baptism. So it's almost as if they're living in the time between the covenants, right? But then, for example, I mentioned earlier, Apollos, the Alexandrian Jew, mentioned in Acts 18:24-28. We see a situation with him where he's pulled aside by a husband and wife teaching couple, and it says they explained to him that
Priscilla and Aquila.
Christ, forget the mention
about Jews. You asked me if there's Jews, how can they call Jews if they're in Greece, if they're in this, that, and the third? And you mentioned how specifically it takes Apollos as a Jew at Alexandria, right? Now we see throughout the Bible in Isaiah 1, it calls Israel Sodom, it calls Israel Egypt, it calls Israel these various things, even calls Israel Assyria. So
I want to see the passage.
Okay.
Now, if vocab is saying that Apollos was another nation, he's going off. I mean, he didn't say that, but you had when our Lord came on the scene, you had Israelites that were outside of Israel at that time, outside of Galilee, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, these places, mainly Jerusalem and Galilee. But anyway, let's go into some precepts. Like I said, I'm not going to make this long. And I'm going to try to breeze through some of these scriptures you have. When you look up the word covenant pops up, as you can see, 292 times. So let's try to breeze through some of these precepts here. Okay, Genesis 6 verse 18. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons, and thy wife, and thy sons' wives with thee. So he made the covenant with Noah, his sons, and their wives, and his wife. The rest of the people were destroyed. And it was commanded that Noah and his sons repeople the earth. Every person that you see on the planet came from one of the three sons of Noah. Okay, next it says, and behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. And I will establish my covenant with you. Genesis 9 verse 11. I just read Genesis 9 verse 9. Genesis 9 verse 11. And I will establish my covenant with you. Neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood. So that covenant, that one covenant, which has nothing to do with the covenant of circumcision, a different covenant, a different contract. So he made this covenant with everyone on the planet, men and animals, which include women and children. 11 verse again, and I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore by the waters of a flood. Neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. You have floods, but the Most High is not going to bring a flood to destroy the earth. 12 verse, and the Most High said, this is the token of the covenant which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you for perpetual generations forever. Verse, Genesis 9 verse 13. And by the way, well, let me read this. 13 verse. I do set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be for a token of a covenant between me and the earth, meaning every living creature. Verse, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you. He's talking to Noah, Nawak, which means comfort or comforter, and every living creature of all flesh, fishes, birds, cattle, and the waters. Now, did these animals get eaten? Yeah, so there was no, the animals didn't get salvation, they were getting eaten. Fishes were being caught, they were being gutted and cooked and eaten. And that was one of the first things that the Most High told Noah too about the blood. Drain the blood. Because before that time, there was no flesh being eaten. You got to go to Genesis 1, Genesis 2, Genesis 1 actually. It says, and I will remember my covenant which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. So we can see that this is a covenant, one covenant that was made between the Most High and man. You had another covenant that was made between the Most High and Abram or Abraham, and this covenant is for everyone that comes up under the house of Abraham, and that expanded to Israelites. If they had servants, they must be circumcised. That's an everlasting covenant. In the kingdom of heaven, anyone of another nation that is not under the covenant, they were circumcised. They're going to be circumcised. So this has nothing to do with salvation. Now, to show you that, let me try to get this in. Like I said, I'm not going to make this long. Okay, did this covenant that was given to Noah, did it apply to Canaan, the son of Ham, for what Ham did? No, because they became servants. Genesis 9 verse 25. And he said, cursed be Canaan. So they're definitely not under a covenant of being saved. A servant of servants shall he be unto his brethren. And he said, blessed be the Lord, power of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. So the ball is back in your court, vocab. With that, I'm going to say shalom.
So you see, sometimes you just got to get back to basics, because there are many covenants, and again, we're under a special covenant, and nobody else is under that covenant. Esau has a covenant with the Most High. Well, he had certain laws, and that was to not hurt his anointed. And look at how many times they violated that. So that's why Esau is condemned, not to mention all the other laws he couldn't keep anyways, because, again, he wasn't created to keep those laws. He is created to be the opposition, But nonetheless, though, if you don't know anything about the Oath Keepers, what they are is they're kind of a patriot group, and they're blaming this whole thing on the Oath Keepers, the false flag Capitol attack on January 6th. Lifetime Oath Keepers member first to plead guilty in January 6th Capitol attack, which we know this was a staged event, was a way for them to try to impeach Trump for the last time. But you can see that Trump is still out there playing bad cop, about the whole Johnson & Johnson vaccine, about how wonderful it is that people get blood clots, but they shouldn't ban it, so he's on that side of it. And then, Biden pretended to be, just like, all right, well, let's just go with Pfizer and get a microscopic tag to be implanted in everyone, so he's a bad cop too. All these people are bad. Nonetheless, though, this is what they're saying. John Schaefer, a member of the Oath Keepers, will be the first Capitol rioter to plead guilty to charges for his role in January 6th attack, according to court documents. So pretty much, though, as said before, the Oath Keepers is who they're going after on this. And the Oath Keepers basically just believe in the Second Amendment, and they're pretty much a group of vets, militia. They're kind of a militia group. They're veterans of wars, and just believe in what they like to call freedom. But you don't really have it here in this totalitarian society. Indianapolis was already seeing a rising number of homicides when a gunman killed 8 at a FedEx facility. Because, of course, you got more and more false flag gun attacks, too, which is just all a ploy to try and get the guns. When a gunman killed 8 people and wounded several others at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis on Thursday night. Whole thing was staged. You can best believe that. But we can't go too much into that here. The other channels like NW Boxing or Red Silver J, he ain't on no more because he used to do that. So we're not here to do that. But we should know by now, never trust anything that's on the mainstream media. The city was already experiencing a plague of rising homicides, so they're going to say that it's guns. Not people, just guns, Nonetheless, though, this is what we're going to have to be very soon, is living off the grid. Because again, we're coming into that time that we're not going to be able to buy or sell. Save he that has a mark. Look at what they're planning to do, though. They're at these certificates, which now they're saying that people are forging them. Well, they're going to have to verify that digitally. What do you think that is? That is the mark of the beast.
It's an interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize what they're involved in. Just the simple fact of using credit cards, using smartphones, and all of this automated system is the problem. People don't realize what it is. This system we're being led into is the New World Order in itself. The 5G smart grid is the New World Order, the Internet of Things. It's the New World Order. People don't really understand how that works, but what it's about is monitoring every single aspect of your life. The smart grid is being presented to people as this thing that's going to be highly beneficial to us. You know, you'll only be using the electricity that you use, you'll only be paying for that, all this sort of stuff. So it's being presented as a really positive thing. But what it will do, it will put a dollar value on absolutely every aspect of your life. So that every time you turn on a tap, the credit goes. Every time you turn on a light, every time you watch your TV, every time you boil your jug, every time you do anything, there's a dollar value attached to it. There's an interesting TV show that came out a couple of years ago called Black Mirror, and they had one episode of that where everybody, the only job they had was running on a treadmill or spinning a bike and just to accumulate credits, and they had to pay for every single action that they performed. And that's what the smart grid is. That's what we're being led into. And it's all about digital currency and control of everything. And if you're someone who lives a slightly alternate lifestyle, say you grow a few vegetables and you give some to your neighbours, or you do a little bit of massage for someone, or you do a bit of tarot reading or something like this, the only way you're going to be able to get paid for that once the smart grid comes online is through the transfer of digital credits, which means the government will get a tax. You'll have to put it on your income tax, or everything will be monitored. That's what it's about, complete blanket surveillance of every single action people are doing. That's what the smart grid is. And it's being rolled out underneath everything else while we're arguing about all of these issues and being given all of these global conflicts and all of this theatre of politics to fight and squabble about. Underneath all of that is this smart grid. And it's rolling out very, very quickly. And the smart grid, the 5G grid, underlying that is the fact that the 5G system that they're using to run the smart grid, the Internet of Things, is also being used by the military. It's a military-grade technology. It's basically an active denial system. So the 5G grid not only will track everything you do, it can be used as a weapon. It can be used as a microwave cannon. It can be used to disable people, to track people. It can see through walls. It can see what you're carrying, whether you're carrying money, whether you're carrying a weapon, all of this sort of stuff. So it's very, very evasive. Plus it does all sorts of damage to us biologically. You know, it damages our cell structure, damages the cell structure of all food, changes the cell structure of everything that it comes into contact with. And the 5G system will be a blanket system, blanket wave of communication. You know, we've got situations now where you lose signal on your mobile phone if you move too far away from a tower. That won't happen with the 5G. It will be everywhere, right across the country, in rural areas, everywhere you'll be able to get perfect signal. So everyone's going to kind of welcome this, but they don't realize what it is. It's about everything talking to everything else and everything tracking everything else. And also with the smart grid, it turns virtually every smart appliance into a surveillance system. There's been a new law passed in Australia where police have just been given the permission to tune into smart devices and listen to what's going on in people's homes. They can tune into your refrigerator. A lot of people don't realize your smart fridge has a microphone. They can tune in and listen to the conversations you're having in your kitchen. So anybody who's targeted for any reason at all, if they've got suspicions about anybody, they can just tune in, listen to their devices, their mobile phones, their refrigerators, their televisions, turn their cameras on, watch them through the television, all the stuff that they're doing. This is what the smart grid is. And this is being rolled out underneath everything. And we've got so many people distracted on so many issues trying to address the government corruption and all of this stuff. They're not realizing that this is all rolling out. And in another 3 or 4 to 5 years, they're just going to wake up and go, what happened? How did I suddenly find myself in this digital prison? Because that's what it is. That's virtually what it is. It's a digital prison, a digital control grid. And if you want to participate in this society, you're going to have to participate in the smart grids.
If you see something, say something.
And that's what this has all been about. Remember what I just said, that I prefer to be on Windows 7, but they cut your feed because Windows 7 doesn't use the 5G, so they cut your feed. They want you using the 5G, which is what I'm on right now. But then, you know, when I want to edit and put things up, I'll just go back to Windows 7 on the 2G, you know, because I like my privacy, you know. Hey, man, you know, just using both systems. I mean, obviously you got to shift back and forth, you know. And someone else, you know, who I didn't even think knew anything about the truth, but he also, you know, he's seen, well, he calls it UFOs. Of course, I'm talking about an Edomite, but what's very funny about this is he just started talking about other things going on, and he says, you know, the way that they can track everything and trace everything, we're living in 1984. He said that to me. And I said, you know, I was just about to mention that, because, you know, you got to kind of keep a Clark Kent approach, especially if, you know, you're working out with the Edomites. But he just said it. We're living in a 1984 era. And I said, yeah, I was just about to make a mention of that. You see, people do know that this is 1984. You know, that this is what the C-19 was all about. The beginning of 1984. The members of 1984, where they just know about everything. And that's what the mark of the beast is about, you know. You're giving yourself over to this system. You take that injection. UK government's advisors call for more lockdowns. Yes, there's going to be more lockdowns in the UK. You thought that they were gradually reopening. They're not. Advisors to the government of the UK, which had been mostly under varying degrees of lockdowns for more than a year now, and is supposed to be emerging from the last of the restrictions, have said that they may have to further lockdowns in order to stop the new CV variants. You know, there's always going to be a new strain, new variants. So, you know, this is what you got coming. And they're going to do the same over here. And they're going to say that you need more shots because it wasn't meant to get that variant. You know, it was only meant to fight these variants. You know. And, of course, wars, rumors of wars. So, the UN complicit in U.S.-Saudi act of piracy against field tankers in Yemen. So, you know, this is provoking Persia, because Yemen is one of the areas that Persia supports. The Yemen Petroleum Company has lashed out at a U.S.-backed invading Saudi coalition for impounding Yemeni field tankers called the United Nations a partner in the maritime piracy. The U.S.-Saudi coalition keeps confiscating ships carrying Yemeni fuel under the auspices of United Nations YPG Executive Director Ahmad Admari said. So again, you know, pretty much though, you know, they're going to keep on stealing, looting the oil. They've been doing that in Syria throughout this whole time. But hey, while all that's going on, you got this going on, more provoking the bear, Magog. Russia shuts Ukraine's military access to Black Sea. It was announced Thursday that Russia will close off the Kerch Strait to all foreign warships for 6 months, amid rising Ukraine tensions after the U.S. threatening to send additional warships to the area. Kerch Strait is the vital narrow underway connecting the Black Sea and the Sea of Azov, and which importantly connects southern Russia to annexed Crimea. Putin will close the Kerch Strait beginning next month until October, blocking foreign ships that are considering military exercises, including the United States, the Ukraine Foreign Ministry, and said Thursday. So, there you go, man. Pretty much, though, this is a rumor of war, because may God knows what they're up to, but there's more. Ukrainian envoy, NATO are nuclear weapons. On Thursday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seconded a statement by Georgian President Salom Zurabishvili that it is time for concrete proposals for Ukraine and Georgia to obtain a NATO map and a plan to join the EU. The two countries have been paired as partners for future NATO membership, with both promised membership in the global military bloc of NATO summit in Romania in 2008. So there you go. And you got these nuclear warheads. The number of them is 200,000. But these shall hate the whore and burn her with fire. Ukraine has no other choice. Either we are part of an alliance such as NATO and are doing our part to make this Europe stronger, or we have the only option to arm ourselves and maybe think about nuclear status again. How can we guarantee our defense? He also claimed that there were 90,000 Russian military personnel deployed to the Donbas border and to Crimea. In his words, we are dealing with the largest troop movement in Russia since the Second World War. So, pretty much though, that's what's going on there. So tensions mount. But wait, the least of the flock is drawing everybody in this. Israeli state warns it will do whatever it takes to stop Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, you know, because there's renegotiations of the P5+1 deal, but that would mean removing the sanctions from Iran, which hasn't happened yet. But nonetheless, though, you still got, you know, probing. Israeli state is ready to do whatever it takes to quash Tehran's efforts to obtain nuclear weapons. Foreign minister told journalists after a summit of regional stability in Cyprus. The warning comes as an Iranian announced that it has met its 60% uranium enrichment goal. The Islamic Republic notified the International Atomic Energy about its intention to enrich uranium at 60% on Tuesday. So, pretty much though, you know, you got at least the flock there. But hey, you know, there's even more here, and this is another video here on RT, you know, about the tit for tat, what's going on between, you know, the West and Magog.
This attack on our country by the Biden administration cannot go unanswered. It seems that Washington does not want to accept the fact that in the new geopolitical realities there is no place for unilateral dictatorship, and the broken scenarios of containing Moscow, which the US short-sightedly continues to deploy, only risk further degrading Russia-US relations.
We knew that this was coming in one form or another. It was just a matter of time. And on Friday, Russia very demonstratively retaliated against those punitive measures that Washington announced against Moscow earlier this week. Perhaps the most interesting part is that 8 top-level Washington officials have been banned from entering Russian territory. And when I say top-level, I mean highlight reel.
Big names, aren't they?
We're talking the head of the FBI, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Homeland Security too, are people who are powerful decision makers in Washington. Also in that list is Susan Rice and John Bolton, historically 2 politicians who are
pretty
known
hawkish, weren't
for
they?
their hawkish
Yeah.
and
So you know what happens when you start kicking out ambassadors. That means that you're preparing for war with that country. So I'm going to read a few scriptures here because we're in that time, you know. And this question was asked, and you got to consider what was answered here. You know, this is Yahushua speaking, Matthew chapter 24, verse 3. As we probably all already know these verses, but, you know, now having the 100% truth, it's better to be read again, knowing this truth, having Rakal Kadash to understand. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of thy coming? And of the end of the world. You know, what world is that? The world of Esau Edom, you know, because again, the Roman Empire, you know, is Esau Edom. You know, Brother Malcolm, elder brother Malcolm, he has a book on Rome is Edom. And it very much, you know, it was common knowledge that Rome and Edom were synonymous. You know, everybody knew that back then, you know. And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am anointed, and shall deceive many. Many people claim to have got the truth, but then they don't teach the truth, you know. We see that all the time. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. Did I not just read some wars and rumors of wars? See that you not be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So there's going to be more, you know. Because the mark of the beast is going to be made mandatory very shortly here, especially with this verification. You got to verify everything. You know, they want the full system. For nation shall rise against nation. Are we not seeing that? And kingdom against kingdom. You know, Ukraine used to be all one, but now there's what they like to call annexed Crimea, and you got the takeover of Ukraine. So that's a kingdom against a kingdom, because it used to all be one. And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. We see that, you know, this worldwide C-19, you know, and you know, which is a pestilence, but it's also causing a famine. Lots of shortages everywhere because you don't have the accessibility anymore, because places have been put out of business and they just simply ain't there anymore. They ain't producing anymore. All them farms that got shut down because the hoax, and just pretty much, though, you see it. And then, you know, you got Bill Gates saying we need to eat synthetic meats. That's going to cause more pestilences, too. and earthquakes in diverse places. Are we not seeing that? You know, there's a volcano going up, but you have to have the injection in order to escape. All these are the beginning of the sorrows. They shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And who gets the more hate? Who gets the more backlash? Who's the most despised? Well, we here at Great Millstone are the most despised because we keep the name. And we don't alter this truth just to proudly welcome someone else that doesn't believe the same as we do. No, man, you know, those that believe as we do, they're going to be drawn in, you know, and they're going to give thanks and double honors to the elders and apostles. It's how I was drawn in. I'm not looking, you know, to come in with my own philosophies. No, when I came in, you know, I knew that they had the 100% truth. And then shall many be offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. Is that not what's happening, though? You know, Nate's saying, I hate that name, Yahweh Shai. You know? And many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. You know, you got General Yohanan saying that sodomy is okay. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Telling people to get the injection, that you need this injection. This injection, once you've taken it, you can't go back. Now you're fucked up for life. But he that shall endure unto the end shall be saved. So those that are resisted unto this, and resist the beast and his mark and all things, you know, all injections, and you know, hey man, we're going to be saved in the end. And even if they do deliver us up to kill us, keep in mind though that we still inherit the kingdom anyway, so what have we got to lose? No man, let's die for righteousness' sake. So I hope all this has been edified like everything else though. You know, Adawan Ratazah, I'll be back later. So, you know, like everything else though, there's a fan of the word, and again, you know, if I go down on this channel, it's Israelite Foreigner 6, and just look for me on BitChute, because that's where my main videos are anyways. Because, you know, getting strikes right and left, you know. Shalom.